And here's one that I guarantee you haven't heard. These are the generations of Noah. There are two types of righteous people, both of whom serve the Lord. The first category does so with enthusiasm and profound devotion, but does so as an individual only, not endeavoring to draw other people, admitted sinners, nearer to the Creator. There is a second category of tzaddik, or righteous person, who not only serves the Lord himself, but who is instrumental in leading sinners back to their Creator. Avraham was a prime example of the latter type of tzaddik. He was busy converting pagans to monotheism. According to the Rizal, the greatest Kabbalist ever perhaps, one of the greatest Torah experts of all time, Noah was even punished for not rebuking the pagans in his time. His punishment consisted of his soul being reincarnated in the body of Moses, in order to accomplish then what it had failed to accomplish in the first round inside a human body. Moses made up for the sin of the omission of Noah by constantly rebuking the Israelites for their shortcomings. When our sages discussed the difference between a tzaddik, a righteous individual, and a tzaddik tov, a good righteous individual, they said that the former is righteous with God, whereas the latter is righteous with both God and his fellow man. Being good to one's peers involves more than being helpful and charitable. It includes admonishing one's neighbors when one observes him violating God's commandments. According to Sanhedrin 99, teaching one's neighbor's son Torah is one of the most important ways in which to demonstrate one's concern for him. So much so that a student who has been taught Torah by someone other than his biological father is deemed as having been sired by that teacher. So it's like he becomes his son. In introducing Avraham to us, the Torah underlines that when heading for the land of Israel from Haran, Abraham and Sarah took with them the souls that they acquired in Haran, these converts to monotheism, so from paganism to one God, the way it originally was supposed to be. When the Torah refers to Avraham, it never wrote the line, and these are the Toldot Avraham, or the generations of Avraham, as opposed to Genesis 6, 9, and 10, where amongst the Toldot, or generations of Noah, we are told about his 3 sons. There is no mention or allusion to any converts that Noah had attracted to monotheism other than his own flesh and blood. The word for these is almost always used as a limitation, these and none other. In Noah's case, he had failed to acquire souls. Even though he did try, and even while building the ark, people would come up and ask him what he's doing, and he would tell them, and they would laugh at him. We have to understand that the generation of the flood is like so horrifying that we can barely even comprehend it. When we reflect on this, we will understand why the Torah wrote and Noah found favor in the eyes of Hashem. The latter formulation would mean that when Noah faced God, he brought with him much to commend him. So when Noah faced God, he brought with him much to commend him, i.e. his converts, whereas the formulation the Torah uses implies that God had to go looking for Noah. I think what they're saying there is that Abraham had his converts, and whereas God had to go looking for Noah. Indeed, he was a valuable find. Noah was a tzaddik tamim, a perfectly righteous man, but not one that could not be overlooked, such as Abraham's chassidim, or pious ones. And then it continues on for a bit. I'm going to skip down a little bit. Noah, though aware of the many sexual perversions practiced by the people around him and being steadfast in not copying their behavior, is attested to by the Torah describing him as perfect in his generations. or perfect in his days. Nonetheless, his loyalty to the Creator certainly did not endear him to his peers. They all hated him for being so close to God and for obeying the rules, obeying the laws, which they knew, and they just didn't care, or they would twist them. Hence, he walked with God, as there was no one else with whom to walk. I think this is something that righteous Gentiles or Noahides can kind of identify with. It's kind of a lonely path, but not even lonely, but it's a path for loners or people who are independent thinkers. So there was no one with whom to walk. Sadly, only God appreciated his self-restraint and his righteousness.